बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। ये लेसन है फ्रॉम द टोफल सीरीज़ फॉर द बिगनर्स। आज हम इसमें दैट एंड अदर के यूजेस को ग्रामेटिकली इन डेप्थ डिग डाउन करेंगे। सो विदाउट फर्दर अड्यू, लेट्स स्टार्ट द लेसन। Now, what is optional that? The word that has several uses besides its use in the relative clauses. One such use is as a conjunction. इससे पिछली हम क्लासेस में लेसन में रिलेटिव क्लॉजेस को बहुत अच्छे से इन डेप्थ स्टडी कर चुके हैं एंड वी नो कि द वर्ड दैट हम यूज़ करते हैं जब हमने रिस्ट्रिक्टिव रिलेटिव क्लॉज को डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करना होता है. बट बिसाइड्स दैट पॉइंट आई होप दैट यू हैव गॉन थ्रू दैट लेक्चर. वी नो वी आर ऑल फेमिलियर विद दिस वर्ड वेरी मच. सो बिसाइड्स इट्स यूज इन द रिस्ट्रिक्टिव रिलेटिव क्लॉज, इसका एक इंपॉर्टेंट जो यूज़ है वो एज अ कंजंक्शन भी सर्व करना है. Sometimes when that is used as a conjunction, it's optional, and sometimes it's obligatory. So that is usually optional after the following verbs. So जब ये अपना एज अ कंजंक्शन के तौर पे सर्व कर रहा है तो इसकी दो पॉसिबिलिटीज़ हैं इन इट्स यूजेस. इट कैन बी यूज्ड एज एन ऑप्शनल और इट कैन हैव एन ऑब्लिगेटरी यूज एज वेल. सो अब हम ये स्टडी करेंगे कि किन वर्ब्स के बाद आने की सूरत में किन वर्ब्स के साथ इसका ऑब्लिगेटरी यूज़ है और किन वर्ब्स के साथ इसका ऑप्शनल यूजेज है. सो स्टार्टिंग ऑफ विद एन ऑप्शनल यूज़, कि जो वर्ब्स आप अपनी स्क्रीन पर देख रहे हैं, दीज 4 वर्ब्स लाइक से, टेल, थिंक एंड बिलीव. इन 4 वर्ब्स के बाद अगर आपके पास दैट आता है तो दैट इज़ एन ऑप्शनल दैट. इसकी आपके पास ऑप्शनल यूजेज है. यू मे हैव इट एंड यू मे नॉट. यू कैन ओमिट दिस इफ़ यू नीड. इसको फर्दर स्टडी करते हैं. For example, what is an optional that? For example, पहले example है कि John said that he was leaving next week. John said that he was leaving next week. Now, said is one of those 4 verbs जिनके साथ जब that होगा, that can be optional. So you have an leverage है कि आप इसको omit कर सकते हैं. So otherwise अगर इसको omit कर दें तो sentence will sound like John said he was leaving next week. Since it's an optional that, तो इसको omit करने की सूरत में भी the sentence still makes sense and does not lose its meaning. एक और एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं. हेनरी टोल्ड मी दैट ही हैड अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क टू डू. हेनरी टोल्ड मी, दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द 4 वर्ब्स जिनके बाद दैट एज एन ऑप्शनल यूज़ होता है. अगेन मेरी बार रिपीट करने का मकसद ये है कि आपको इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स की क्लैरिटी भी और ये आपको मेमोराइज्ड भी रहें. और अगर हमने इस दैट को विच इज़ एन ऑप्शनल दैट रिमूव कर दें तो द सेंटेंस विल बी जो हेनरी टोल्ड मी ही हैड अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क टू डू. सो अगेन यहाँ पे हमने दैट ऑप्शनल दैट को रिमूव किया एंड द सेंटेंस स्टिल डजंट लूज द मीनिंग्स. So far we spoke about the optional that. What if we have an obligatory that? Now obligatory, obligation by meanings we know something which is prerequisite and something you can't really live without, something you have to be with. So what if we have an obligatory that? Now that is usually obligatory after the following verbs when introducing another clause. इससे पहले ऑप्शनल दैट के बारे में हमने स्टडी किया और 4 वर्ब्स देखे जिनके बाद हमें दैट जो है वो ऑप्शनल है और हम उसको बाय चॉइस रिमूव भी कर सकते हैं. नाउ इन 4 वर्ब्स के बाद आने वाला जो दैट होगा, दैट विल बी ऑब्लिगेटरी and it is actually used to introduce another clause coming. And हम clauses के बारे में again a quick understanding कि clause is one which has its own verb and its known noun. It's an independent sentence by itself. तो जब जहाँ भी हम clause का word इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो you should have an idea कि ये पूरा एक sentence है, independent sentence. So अगर आप अपने 2 clauses के एक पूरे sentence को study कर रहे हैं तो उसमें जो आपका introducing clause होगा उससे पहले आपके पास that होगा, which that will be an obligatory that, and you really can't omit out of the sentence. So the 4 verbs जिनके साथ आपका आने वाला that obligatory है are mention, declare, report and state. I just want कि जहाँ भी इस तरीके से कोई भी information आपको given है, added information, so just make sure अपनी वीडियो को pause करके इन grammar को, उन गिवन वर्ब्स को अपने पास कहीं नोट डाउन करके इनके अपने पास प्रॉपर मेमोरी स्टोर ज़रूर करें सो दैट आपको इसकी प्रैक्टिस रहे. अब एक एग्जांपल्स में देखते हैं. द मेयर डिक्लेयर्ड that on June the 1st he would announce the results of the search. Now here this first clause is introducing, this is about to introduce another whole lot of clause which has its own subject, which has its own verb to do, so that's an independent clause. So this introductory clause is about to be introduced by this obligatory that. Another example, George mentioned, again this is one of the verb, that he was going to France next year. So again this is an introductory clause जिससे पहले हमारे पास obligatory that है. This independent clause has its own verb, its own subject to be and having it standalone sentence. Third example is the article stated that this solution was flammable. So again, that is an obligatory that coming after this verb state, and here this introducing clause has its own verb and the subject of the sentence, so it's all alone standalone independent sentence. Now some few important more things. Some clauses generally introduced by the noun phrase also contain that. These clauses are reversible. Now so far we spoke about आपके पास obligatory that है तो क्या होगा, किन verbs के साथ होगा, और अगर आपके पास optional that है तो किन verbs के साथ होगा. Now it's independent of that. Generally आपका जो पास जो है वो आपके पास noun phrases होते हैं, and noun phrases में भी आप जो है वो they also contain that, and such noun clauses जो हैं they are reversible. अब उसको देख लेते हैं what does actually refers to. For example, it's well known that many residents of third world countries are dying, right? So if what does reversible means, you can readjust the sequence of the sentence, and the sentence yet makes sense, and it has a noun clause, for noun phrase. So अगर इस sentence में हमने just that clause को है अपना इसकी position को adjust करें, so how does it sound like? Initially it's well known that many residents of third world countries are dying. So अगर हम इसको position को interchange करें, so that many residents of third world countries are dying is well known. So you just took out this very clause in the beginning and bring the first clause afterwards, and you just adjust the position, and the sentence yet did not lose the meanings. Note, if a sentence begins with a that clause, be sure that both clauses contain a verb. एक और important चीज़ जो just to have notice is अगर आपका sentence that clause से start हो रहा है, so then you have to make sure कि आपके जो दोनों clauses हैं they should have their own independent verbs. Example देख लेते हैं. It surprises me that John would do such a thing, right? Or that John would do such a thing surprises me. So the first clause, this has its own verb followed by another verb. And when you are starting that clause in the sentence, you're starting the sentence with that clause, then this has its own verb, do, followed by another verb. So when you are starting your sentence with that clause, then you should that both clauses should have their verbs. Other examples to understand to grasp the whole understanding of the concept. It wasn't believed until the 15th century that the earth revolved around the sun. Now this is an independent, it's another clause with that clause, so bring that clause initially at the beginning, so that the earth revolves around the sun. Now this is the verb of this part. Wasn't believed until the 15th century, and this is the second verb. Another example, it's obvious that the Williams boy is abusing drugs, or that the William boy is abusing drugs is obvious. So again, having two independent verbs when starting your sentence with the that clause. So I hope this all concept makes sense by now. If not, then I would suggest you kindly leave your comments in the comment section so that I can answer and help you further. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel and share with your friends and family. Thanks for watching this video.